A lot of the greatest athletes, the most talented athletes, don't even make it to the next level because the level of discipline, just like you said, it's not there because they haven't been challenged enough.
I mean, it was hard for your mom to decide to run for office.
When she said she was running for mayor, and we all look at each other and start laughing because we're like, man, we're not a political family. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, but we're family, right? That's what matters.
What's up, everybody? We're here today with Bronson Kafusi. I've pretty much been watching him my whole life, so thanks for hopping on. So a quick little intro if you're unfamiliar. He was the man in Utah from literally 2005 probably to now, and he played at BYU. One of the few people, I don't know how many people have done this, but he played football and basketball, D1. Do you know how many have done
I don't know. I think it's just me, and then my little brother wanted to do it as well.
The only two in BYU history, probably.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone played basketball too at BYU.
I don't know. I've never heard of it. Played D1 basketball and football. Both teams were ranked at some point.
Yeah.
So top 25 teams. And now he's gone into helping athletes and people with their investments. And the thing that's impressed me the most about you, I mean, I went to Orem High. You went to Tim Few. You're a year older than me. And so, like, I always kind of knew who you were. Like, we didn't really know each other.
Yeah.
But I think when you're, like, as popular of an athlete as you are and were, I think it'd be really easy to let it get to your head and kind of have, like, I don't know, an ego. But one thing that's really impressed me is you've always seemed, like, so humble and so nice, willing to help people out. And it's actually been, like, a thing I've heard about how nice and down to earth you've been forever. So, I mean, I'm just stoked to be chatting with you.
No, I appreciate it. We both grew up here. It's a great place. I mean, I had really good parents, you know, good neighbors, good community. Like, it's been great. I mean, you ever been to Days Market?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I grew up working. So I was hanging out there in high school, you know, meeting everyone, talking with everyone, just being around. I mean, being around that type of community, I mean, they help you so much.
Well, it definitely takes a village. It for sure does. And I think, like, living in the Provo-Orem area, people don't realize how family-oriented it is and how much it, like, really, like, brings you up. And I think that's what's so interesting about what's going on right now in Utah in general is we're kind of experiencing a weird shift where I feel like when I was younger and growing up, people were a lot more focused on, like, the family and, like, I don't know, just like being more family oriented and like you had a job, like you worked at Days Market, like you were out working hard and like you were participating and doing things at a high level. And I know your parents pushed you to become great, you know what I mean? And like to be responsible and to learn like these values where I feel like now you see a lot of kids who are working, who just like their parents will just let them live at home, rent free. They don't have a job. They play video games. And working with like professional athletes, I'm sure there's a trickle over effect into that. Like, what have you noticed?
Oh, that's a really good observation. Because you're right. It goes all the way up every chain, honestly. So everything, I mean, the world is just so different. I mean, when we were in high school, we literally experienced the iPod. And then we experienced, social media. I mean, before that, we were on MSN Messenger.
I remember that, like,
getting stoked
grade.
to talk to your friends, right? Trying to get on there as much as you can. And so now I feel like, you know, with everything being at our fingertips, it's so easy to, life is just so easy. We're really good at making life easy. And so, I feel like everyone wants things now. The easy way is the best way. And, as an athlete, I mean, you can't cut any corners at all if you want to be great. Like, you have to do the hard stuff. You have to be disciplined. But then going back to your point, right? And that's how it's been forever in sports. But now it's like, hey, how does that affect what are we seeing as far as the trickle effect from life being easy? And, a lot of it is, I look at the relationship side of it because that's one of the hardest things is to build trust, it takes time. Whereas some people just throw trust around, like it's just appears immediately, and they make moves when they shouldn't because the trust isn't there. But they want trust to be there, like everything else in life. And so I feel like a lot of people struggle with that in that sense, where, man, you have to let trust. It takes time, it takes work, it takes effort. It's hard to get, and I feel like sometimes it's easy for athletes, people in this generation to just immediately jump when someone says, "Hey, this is a great thing." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And instead of taking time to go through your circles, go through your relationships, talk about it, meet in person. It's a rarity.
Most people avoid even meeting in person.
I know.
Like most people just want to they don't even want to talk on the phone. But I know it's like a lot of them's like, dude, can we just text?
Dude, just text, right? Kids. I mean, and that makes it super tough, and it robs the process. Like it just robs the process. And honestly, I think that's one of the most important things that, you learn about it in sports, but in life, it's so valuable. Like you have to learn to love that. You have to love the hard stuff. You just have to love it.
Mike Tyson said something super interesting about it. What is it? Discipline. Discipline is doing something that you hate like you love it.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And I think that's what, everybody says they want to be a professional athlete. Now people say they want to be like TikTok famous or whatever, YouTube famous. They don't have a YouTube channel. But I think what a lot of the current generation misses is they want someone else to do everything for them. But regardless of what you want to do, is there's only one person that can do all the work. And it's you. And it's you doing the hard things, like you're saying, waking up early or doing the steps that you might not necessarily want to do, like you love it day in, day out, until you actually see the progress. And I think in sports, one thing that it's been interesting to see, especially as I've worked a little bit in the MMA space, is you'll have a talented person and they've been talented their whole lives. And as soon as they hit that level, they've been the fastest, they've been the strongest, they've been whatever. And then as soon as they hit other people who are in that, if they haven't built up that discipline into that level, they just instantly crumble. And I'm sure you've seen that even more being in football and basketball.
Yeah, that is so true. Honestly, people, a lot of the greatest athletes, the most talented athletes, don't even make it to the next level. From high school to college, from college to pros, because the level of discipline, just like you said, it's not there because they haven't been challenged enough. So they haven't become calloused enough to handle adversity. What do I handle if I lose a lot? What do I handle if I do this? So this and that. And so I think it's probably one of the greatest things is watching very talented individuals that are just, workers that love the hard stuff. And then you go back to leadership in that space, especially is, it's those guys that are super talented, that do all the hard stuff. They don't cut corners, but then they also help other guys do it. And it's really cool to see that because there are a lot of those guys on every team, and there has to be. Because if there's not, then there's no leadership, there's no leaders, which means there's no culture. So then those teams really struggle.
Well, and I think so you're around a lot of high performers, not just in sports now, working here with Harris Group Investments. You're around, Jason's a high performer. There's a lot of high performers around you. Do you see consistencies between the people that are high performers in sports, high performers in business, and in other areas where you're helping in investments?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Even this morning, I pull into the parking lot. It's just I think it's a little bit before 5:30, and Jason's pulling in. He's here walking in. He's ready to get to work, get his body right, so then his mind, is right, and making the sacrifice of he probably had to go to bed earlier, right? Mm-hmm. And so you wake up at this time, come work out, and just be disciplined in different areas of life. Because as an athlete, you are disciplined in every area, actually. From physically, you're eating right all the time. You're sleeping right all the time. You're working out every day. Your hydration, right? And then you go on to like the business side. And as an athlete, the business side is, what am I studying, right? How do I approach practice? Do I finish on every single drill? Do I, and then like when I show up, do I, when things get tough, do I still push through? Can I still show up even when I'm tired, when I don't want to? Because everyone's gonna go through that. There's gonna be days you don't want to show up, but you do it anyways because that's just one day in a huge chain of days. But you just have to find why you're there, so that way you stay there, and you just do it. And I think it's really interesting to see because there's so many similarities from how they approach their day. Specifically, probably the number one thing is routines. Like athletes, and I call them corporate athletes, business athletes, those who have the athlete mindset, who transition and use it in the business world. They have to have these routines that are just so dialed in. Their habits are dialed in. Are they learning every day, right? Are they moving every day? Or they work out or walk or do anything? I think you have to learn every day. You have to move every day. And the third thing is I think you have to help people every day. So I think if you can do that, a lot of the high performers, they all do that.
Well, and I think that's like what's missing in the world. And that's like getting back to my original point. It seems like that's what communities were built around before. And now a lot of people or kids are just looking for handouts. Like, for example, we were trying to hire some people to do a job in Minnesota, and they're making more money. We had to pay them $35 an hour for an entry-level job because the government would pay them more money, especially right after COVID. And you still see that happening in Minnesota even now. And like, I think as people are seeing like the people that are moving in politics, that same person who made it so hard to hire people in Minnesota is who's running for vice president with Kamala Harris. It's Tim Walz, who's literally just giving away freebies to everyone left and right. And I think a lot of the generation now is expecting that. And as you look at the economies of a lot of these other cities and states, they're kind of like, you look at California, you look at Seattle, like Washington, Oregon, Minnesota, all their economies are tanking, but there's still like this taking mentality I think it's mostly the youth. Like, I guess there are probably some like Gen Xers and stuff, but it's almost like the college age kids are just like, yes, let me take more. When in reality, you're around success all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's all everyone wants is to be successful. And so it's like, in a world like today, how do you feel like you can ultimately become successful when everyone is just so focused on taking?
Yeah, honestly, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and we called it the abundance game. Where everyone is playing this game of abundance, the abundance game, where it's, we come from, depending on where you grow up and, all that goes into that, parents, teachers, all that, right? The community, your environment that you're raised in, right? It's interesting because you find as you go that, the more you give, right? And the more you bring value to the table, and the more you look at, tough situations or things that are really hard with the mindset of, okay, how do we build? How do we, overcome this adversity? Similar to athletes, right? With getting hurt or anything, and you become a builder, man, all of a sudden the world gets brighter. You start to think about what can be done instead of what can't be done. And that's a mindset. It's what can I do? What can I do? Instead of, a lot of people go down the road of, this isn't happening, that's not happening, I can't do this, you can't do this. And it switches, it switches the mind and makes it, makes a lot more tension, and it's tougher to even, cooperate with other people when it's always can't, not like,
It's
you
so
haven't.
me. It's like so me focused.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying is like, what I like is like a lot of times people are looking like, what can you do for me instead of what I can do for you? Like, how can I bring value to the table for everyone else around me instead of looking for always for like a handout? Like, hey, how can I get more here? And being like, just trying to provide value in general. And as you do, like opportunities definitely open up.
They just keep coming. They don't stop. Honestly, they don't stop
Yeah.
unless you stop giving. But like you said, it's really, it's funny. I was actually just talking about this with my my wife, and we were talking about how, man, as long as you keep going, doors will continue to open, opportunities will continue to come, and if you're going with that mindset of helping people, people take notice. It's hard to be around someone that's doing good and not want to help that person. And it's just this thing, you see it in sports, like from a top athlete on the team or leader on the team with a younger player. If the younger player is doing really, really good and is working hard, everyone wants to help that player. But if that player's not doing good stuff and not helping people and just all about me, no one wants to help that person. And so you see it in business too. Like you just want to be able to, every relationship, connection, meeting, from the moment you wake up, you see people at the gym, like you just want to, help the people around you, make them better, see what they love, grow it. And I think that's a key to a lot. And I think the best communities have that mindset kind of integrated into the whole culture.
Oh, for sure. And that's like a refreshing for you to say that to someone who is successful, who's seen success over and over again, because I feel like the media or like the national picture wants to tell you that you can't do it on your own. You need someone else to do it for you. And it almost is indoctrinating you to be like, oh, like I can't do it. I'm just going to go to school forever. I need to take out all these student loans. I need to rely on the government. I need to rely on this person. And I think a lot of people get overwhelmed. And so they end up just staying at home, not taking risks, and just being complacent, saying, hey, I have my Xbox, my TV, I have food provided for me.
Comfortable over there. It's kind of
that's all I need. I don't really need anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's toxic. And I think that's like really the battle we're fighting right now as a society is like a battle of ideals more than left versus right. I think a lot of people want to get into like, oh, I'm Democrat or I'm Republican or the left sucks, the right sucks, whatever. But right now, it feels like to me, it's more about ideals and values versus anything else, like complacency and like hopelessness versus like, I don't know, like you can go do it, discipline and like the core values that bring ultimate happiness and success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's just like an interesting parallel for like young kids or people in college. It's like, hey, don't give up. You can do it. Like go out and do the hard things.
Yeah. What's interesting is when people start to do hard things, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's something that's hard and you do it consistently, guess what? The next hard thing is not going to be as hard. Why? Because you just stacked confidence, evidence that you can do hard things. It's funny, I remember like in our family, one of our sayings was like, Kafusis do hard things. I always wondered like, okay, why do we have that? But I remember I was getting interviewed in like middle school for like, what was it? Student council. And they asked me, what's your favorite quote or something, And that's what I said. But it's true. I literally watched my parents do hard things. I've been around, they always let me do hard things, even when it was tough. Like they knew, going and cutting down these giant trees and laying down, pulling all the weeds and putting down that black, the black.
It's like the black tarp.
Like the tarp, and then you nail it down with the nail. Yeah. And we did a whole mountain, right? Like they knew that was going to be hard, right? But they're not going to stop us from doing that because they know how valuable it is. I think it is too, like as like on the parents, like I have 3 kids, and because back to social media, it's so easy to grab stuff and get stuff. It's like almost like we train our brains. I should make it easy for my children as well. I should be right there and fix it like this. And it's like, whoa. No. Let your kids do the hard things. Let them do the chores. Let them clean the house. Let them go pick up the dog poop. And the biggest thing is it creates ownership and accountability. And if you can instill that in your kids at a young age, I think it's just, man, they can really go far.
Well, I think that's what it takes. And I'm sure, like, for your parents, it wasn't hard. I mean, it was hard for your mom to decide to run for office. It's a huge time commitment. It's not like you're cashing huge checks when you're the mayor of a city. But she had to do it for a reason. Like, what made her want to start getting involved and start speaking out on things that were important to her?
You know what? It's because of where she came from. That's why. So her background, right? Raised by a single mom here in Provo. And then literally the community raised her. And fast forward to having kids. When I was in school, when all my siblings were in school, where was my mom? In the schools, like PTA president, volunteering all the time. I remember reading, you have to read as many words as you can, as fast as you can in like second, third grade. And I swear my mom was always the lady counting them, doing that. And so she was always involved in the schools. Well, then, that turned into, okay, there's a big need here. And she saw it. And then she ran for school board. And then she went and became school board president. And then from there, ran for mayor. And now is in her second term. And it's funny because it's funny too, like when she said she was running for mayor, I remember she announced it to our family, one night, we all got together. She says, oh yeah, I'm going to be running for mayor. And we all look at each other and start laughing because we're like, man, we're not a political family. But at the end of the day, it's like, but we're family, right? That's what matters. So if you want to do this, Mom, like, we're going all in with you, right? And because that's the unit, that's the family unit. That's how it's put together. And so we were all in. We were out there knocking doors, doing all the stuff.
One of the points you just said was like the most important point of like politics to me is you're not a political family.
Yeah.
And like, it feels like we're just lacking so many people in office who aren't politicians. Like the point I'm trying to pull out here is like, your mom was volunteering because she already saw that it was important and she wanted to help. And it's like the same point you keep on hitting is like, how can you give value to others instead of like taking for yourself? And I think that's like the whole issue probably worldwide is everyone's like looking for power or this or to control that. And what we really need are just people that are like, hey, I see a need. Like I see kids that need help counting the words that they're reading, or I need to help kids learn. I want my kids to learn and be smart. So I want to go be there and help be involved and help other kids. And then just going up and seeing the needs and being willing to volunteer your time. And like you said, like you guys weren't in politics and you're like, yeah, but you did start getting involved. Like you did start going and hitting the doors. You did start doing the things to make a difference. And I think that's just a breath of fresh air because it's not like your mom wasn't, because most people would think your mom would be like, have these political aspirations. She's like, hey, Bronson, I'm thinking about running for mayor. Do you think I should do that? I'm going to be mayor someday. I'm going to be doing this someday. But it wasn't like that.
That was never the case.
And
Never.
It seems like she just saw like, hey, there's an opportunity here and there's a lot of issues that can be fixed. Who's going to fix it?
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm the only option here because I don't know who else is going to do it.
No, seriously. That is literally her story. And I truly I think that's why she's so good at it, that's her superpower. She was never thinking about doing something like that and was just already giving back, and helping the community. And yeah, it just, for her, I mean, it's super energizing for her to be, and fulfilling to be able to give back to a community that pretty much raised you. And, I know for her, like at the core just wants, I mean, it's all started with helping her kids, in school, being around. Like it was important for her to be around. And
She
now,
never said she wanted to like make a ton of money. Like there's like, oh, this could be a great opportunity because I can make a lot of money.
look at yeah, it's literally just been, man, I can like, it started with helping her kids, a lot of kids, and to now like, oh, I can help, families, here in Provo, and it's awesome to see because I didn't realize like a lot of the decisions that she makes at that level, really affects a lot of families and people, and I mean, and she just wants that thriving community where, people feel safe, they feel like they can come here and grow, they feel like, their needs are heard, and I don't know, she's busy all the time, all over the place. So it's kind of fun. That's how we are.
You know what
like,
they
we
say,
like to help.
like idleness is the devil's playground. So
Yeah.
like it's great to be busy. And like a lot of times I'll hear people talk about retiring early and how they're worried about Social Security because then they won't have any money to do nothing. And I'm like, they're like, when you're like, I don't know, I'm like, I'm never going to retire. I'm like, you don't want to retire? And I'm like, what else would I do? Like, like my kids will be grown up. I'll have grandkids, but I'm not like, I'm going to sit around and like go play golf. I don't even like golf.
You gotta be engaged. You gotta keep engaged. Yeah. Or else I think mentally you start to go the other way. And if you mentally slow down, physically that's immediate right after. You know what I mean? Like you gotta keep growing. Like even at that age. Like I think of like people that are.
It never stops.
It never stops. Like people that are older that are, really living life to the fullest are those who just keep going and they have something bigger than themselves that they're working towards and building. And I think it's awesome.
No, I mean, I love all the points you're bringing up because really like you need to stay disciplined. You need to stay hungry. You need to do the little things. You need to have a routine. You need to have values. You have to look outward and be looking to serve others. Because if you don't, you just become a selfish me monster and you start looking for what others can do for you. And I know I keep hitting on like the tide of the country, but it's like really concerning to me because the more conversations I have with younger people, the more they're looking for that. When it's like, we need people like you guys, like your family, like your mom, who are like, I want to go and serve. And then they end up getting into cool places and doing really cool things, but it was never about them.
Yeah. Just kind of fell into it. Honestly, but it's falling into it with the right heart, like what's like truly like at the core, like, why do you want to do this? Like, and back to when, my mom told us and we were like, oh, we're not a political family, but all of us knew like her heart has been in the right place forever. And now this is a opportunity for her to take that and just be able to spread it to even more people, and more people are going to feel that effect, from, really her core value, which is to help people.
No, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. I think that's like,
okay.
I mean, I just love how when everything can relate back to service and helping others, because that really does bring true happiness. Like gratitude and service is like what it's all about. And then like, even for me, I've seen like how good things have happened just based off that.
Just based off that, literally just saying thank you to someone. It's really interesting how like, if you just do little things, opening the door for someone, smiling at someone, right? That's like, it can change someone's day. Like it's really interesting how something so small has this effect that is a ripple effect that you just don't even know. That's why
it's like the greeters, like at Walmart. Like you go walk into Walmart and there's the greeters. There's usually like a nice older lady or older guy, and they always say hi to me. And I'm usually with my kids, and I'll just make my kids say hi. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then make my kids say hi. Yeah. And like, oh, such cute little kids. And they just start like, you can tell they're just sitting there like, hey, welcome to Walmart. And then you give them like a real human interaction back. You can tell the difference that it makes in them instantly.
Instantly. Oh, it's crazy. It is. Oh, see, I'm big on this just because people don't understand the impact of their actions towards others. It's crazy. And once you do, you start affecting hundreds, thousands of people in a week, and you don't even know because of the ripple effect.
I mean, I've never thought about it that way, but that's wild thought to think about.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, man. Well, it's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.